What if your dinner could freeze solid in 5 seconds, and your only options were eating raw blubber, rotten meat, or drinking seal blood? Welcome to the Inuit Arctic menu, where survival means eating the weirdest foods on Earth just to see another sunrise. It's probably the weirdest buffet in history, but these are the weird foods Inuit people ate to survive at -90 degrees Fahrenheit. What if your next meal was a thick slice of raw, rubbery whale skin, chewy, oily, with the texture of cold butter? In the Arctic, this isn't survival horror. It's a delicacy called muktuk, and to Inuit families, it's more precious than gold. But because I called it a delicacy does not mean it looks or tastes like one. Remember, I added the word raw when I was describing this meal. Raw whale meat and fat. I know it already sounds and looks disturbing. Eating raw fat? Then there is the horrible smell they have to deal with. It's one thing to eat fats, and it's another thing to eat it raw, and there's the Inuit doing both. To the Inuit people, a whale isn't just a majestic mammal in the ocean, but a nutrient-packed treasure. I know you'll say, well, it's meat, of course. It has nutrients. Yes, you're right, but there's a reason the Inuit people prioritize not just the fat, but also eat it raw. The fat is sliced, sometimes into small cubes, and paired with the skin of the animal, forming a popular Inuit dish called muktuk. It is usually served in bite-sized cubes, skin on the outside, creamy white blubber on the inside. And for how it tastes, like a fishy marshmallow, cold and interestingly chewy. But this is something we have to talk about. Why do they eat it raw? Well, first and most obvious, in the Arctic, fire isn't something you get as you please. Firewood almost doesn't exist here. But this is not all. The Inuit people don't eat the fat raw because they don't have options. It is also a hack. You see, cooking this fat may improve the taste, but it kills the vitamin C in it. And in case you don't know, if you don't take enough vitamin C, you're inviting scurvy, a disease that killed many ancient explorers, but rarely Inuit. While these explorers were dying, the Inuit people were thriving, and the reason for that is simple. The explorers didn't know the things to do to survive. To survive in these harsh weather conditions, these people try to maximize their vitamin C and D intake. These vitamins also help strengthen their eyesight and bone health, giving them a little edge over the cold that's actively trying to kill them. Also, this fat raw also helps insulate the body from the inside out. And lastly, raw blubber gives instant energy that they need to go on with their day. But while the Inuit people know they'd get the best out of whale fat by eating it raw, they know some other delicacies are best when they are thoroughly fermented. If you think eating raw fat and meat is crazy, wait till you hear what they do when they capture a walrus, burying it underground for weeks and bringing it out when the smell is strong enough to kill insects. The thing is, a walrus is taken down, and all parts of it are put to good use. Nothing gets wasted around here, not even the animal's flippers. Unlike the whale fat that is eaten raw, the Inuit people use a fermentation technique for the flippers, at least most of the time. Now this is where it gets weird. They bury the flippers underground or are sometimes kept inside seal bladders. And when they finally bring it out, it looks more like a tool than food. Even the texture, definitely not like something you want to put in the mouth. And it smells way worse than a footballer's socks. But first, why do they bury raw meat for days? And the reason for this is simple: to let it age and preserve without using fire. Now, this process takes time, months sometimes, but when it's done, the Inuit people are provided with something powerful enough to help them survive the freezing temperature. This fermentation technique helps them preserve the meat a lot longer. There's a trick to this. They let nature act like a deep freezing refrigerator. This method also helps the Inuit people get the vital fats, calories, and fermented bacteria that are beneficial to them. You really can't imagine how bad this thing smells. Some scientists won't even smell it, and this is a stable meal for the Inuit. But before we go on to the next, you should know that sometimes walrus meat and fat are boiled and even eaten raw. This is usually done when the preservation of the meat isn't a priority. And just like the walrus that can be fermented, boiled, or even eaten raw, seals also follow a similar pattern. To the Inuit people, seals are not just meat, but a full survival kit. This animal means a lot to them, and when you consider the effort that goes into hunting this creature, you'll know just how much the Inuit people depend on this animal for survival. First finding seal breathing holes, then lying around it in complete silence for 6 to 8 hours with a traditional weapon called a harpoon. And then, after successfully catching it, make an ice slide to drag it back to camp. Trust me, it's a whole process, but for these people, it's completely worth it. Now, for seals, there are different preparation techniques. The animal is either eaten raw, boiled, or dried. Now, this is it. The parts of this animal that are eaten raw are usually consumed immediately after the hunt. This is done because it's believed these parts are best consumed raw because their nutrients fade away when put through preparation processes, like boiling, drying, or fermentation. And of course, as I said earlier, other parts are either boiled, fermented, or air-dried up to form jerky-like snacks. Each preparation has its own occasion and flavor, but generally, seal meat provides the people with a high dosage of protein, fat, and iron, nutrients that help them survive the Arctic conditions. And speaking of survival in this region, this is one thing you need to understand about the Arctic region. There are almost no plants and vegetables here. You can't be a vegetarian around here. And secondly, you don't just hunt down almost any animal you can find, but you also try to get the best from it. And this leads us to the next delicacy on the list, caribou, or as the indigenes call it, tutu. For ages, this has been a vital and stable food source for the Inuit people. Just like seals, caribou offers more than meat. This animal is like a walking supermarket, and catching one is like going shopping, and you get all sorts of variables from it, even their very own meat jerky. You'll be amazed at how the Inuit people produce meat jerky from this animal. But before we talk about that, this is a unique thing about this animal. Capturing one isn't child's play. We already know it takes a lot to capture a seal, but caribou is like the final boss level. This is a really strong and fast animal. It takes a whole lot of strength, skill, and patience. The Inuit hunters mastered how to track the herd migration and, just like the herd, operate in groups as which increases their chances of taking one down. And when one gets captured and taken back to camp, the whole tribe gets to work. The meat isn't just rich, but versatile. Some parts of the animal are eaten raw, the kidneys and liver, for example. Then there's the real meat. Just like seal meat, parts of it get boiled, while others are dried and roasted. And this is all for preservation. For example, drying strips of meat turns it into jerky that can stay edible for months. The Inuits endure harsh winters and are nomadic. Keeping food edible for a long period of time is a big deal. But they don't stop there. Meat aside, caribou fat also plays a key role in their diet. The fat is turned into energy-rich oil, bones are transformed into tools and weapons, and the hide into waterproof clothing. You get the idea. Caribou isn't just food to these guys, it is also a lifeline. The Inuit word for this is igunaq. You see, don't rely on just mammals for food. They are experts at maximizing opportunities, and when they see that even beneath the ice, there are creatures that can keep them running, they go for it. Fishing is a very popular and generic activity around the world, but for the Inuit people, it is a lot more complex. I mean, while others go to rivers to fish, the Inuit people carve holes in ice. It didn't matter the type of fish they caught, salmon, trout, or Arctic char. Anytime they came across them, they turned to food. But this is the thing with fish. Unlike previous animals that are a complete meal, this is more or less a snack. Aside from the fact that it has a really quick preparation process, many times it is eaten raw on the spot, or at least some parts of it. Think of it like nature's sushi. Sometimes the fish gets frozen up and is served in slices, a kwak basically. This provides the people with protein, omega-3 fatty acids, and other really important vitamins. Sometimes they sun-dry the fish to preserve them, and on a few occasions, heat is applied by boiling or grilling on open flames. The thing is, it's not every time you capture bigger games like seal and caribou. Think of fish like that stable alternative you turn to. They're more available, way easier to catch, and quicker to prepare. So, hell yeah, while they wait for the next successful seal or caribou hunt, they fish. And just fish aren't the only animals they turn to as fun alternatives to seals and caribou. Yes, nature is cruel to these guys, but every once in a while, it spices things up for them. For example, the sky seasonally provides things to help them get by. Birds, and from birds, eggs. In the Arctic, where things often look deserted, the sky comes in clutch. Birds flock in to nest, lay eggs, and raise their young. The Inuit people see this as nature increasing their chance at survival, and of course, do not take it for granted. From the general look of things, eating birds and eggs shouldn't be weird in any way. I mean, people eat turkey all the time. This is a normal meal, right? Well, not if you're an Inuit trying to survive at minus 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Trust me, you won't believe how they go about preparing birds for food. But before we talk about that, you should know how they catch the birds. They wait for them to come down, or give them a reason to, and then they make their move. Some of these birds, like ducks and geese that spend almost all their time on the ground, are hunted with bows, slings, nets, and even bare hands. And for the ones that fly, they stalk their nests and try to intercept the birds in flight. Just like fish, the hunt is way easier and quicker. And then they are eggs. Families would set out in their numbers to nesting sites and rocking cliffs to gather eggs. This provides them with additional minerals, keeping them extra healthy and diversifying their diet before winter returns. But back to the birds and how they are prepared. Brace yourself because it's straight up gross. The Inuit people gather them in their numbers and store them inside seal pouches for a long time. Try to picture it, 100 dead turkeys all stacked up in a pouch for weeks. The look and smell are not something you'd want to live with. But what can I say? When you're stuck in living conditions like that, you'd have to do anything you can to preserve food. Desperate times require desperate measures, just like turning to the sea for vegetables because in a land of snow and ice, plants can't thrive. Kelp is one of the very few plants the Inuit people can turn to for food. To them, this is simply a miracle, as this seaweed is one of the few things that add color to their home. During low tides, they set out in their numbers, looking forward to the waters. Some even set out with locally made boats along rocky shorelines, all trying long ribbon strands by hand. Kelp often gets itself tangled with underwater rocks and when harvested would first have to be cleansed of sand. Then it is rolled into bundles, taken back to shore. And just like animals we mentioned before, the Inuit people don't mind eating this raw, of course, after giving it a good rinse. Many times, they leave it to dry to make it have a chewy texture like a casual snack. Some boil it with fish and meat, basically adding flavor and variety to the dish. With kelp constantly supplementing other staple meals, the Inuit people get dosages of fiber, calcium, iodine, and other vital minerals. But hold on, there's more. While kelp is a more reliable and stable plant, there is another that the Inuit people absolutely love but don't always get access to. As I said earlier, color is rare in this part of the world, but during summer, when the sun heats the place up a bit, the Inuit people get a beautiful gift from Mother Nature, Arctic berries. Yeah, these are small and only appear in seasons, but they mean a whole lot to the Inuit people. Going out to harvest these is always a joyful event. They don't just randomly get these anywhere. They are specific locations where these crops grow, and no one knows these locations better than the Inuit people, near freshwater hills, tundra, and between rocky slopes. Women and children happily go out to harvest these, and they do it by hand. Of course, they set out with bowls or seal skin pouches to store the berries. Some of these berry species include the crowberry, blueberry, cranberry, cloudberry. They are rich in antioxidants, natural sugars, and vitamin C, things that you can't really get from eating meat, or at least can't get them in healthy doses. But aside the nutrients these berries provide, they are also valued for the brightness they bring. I mean, it would be nice to have something that has that sweet taste and looks colorful. Sometimes Inuits freeze these berries right after plucking them. They do this to preserve the berries, and when they are eaten, they're like sweet and icy snacks. Nothing serious, very simple preparation process. The only issue with this is that it only comes in seasons. You have to harvest as much as you can when it's available, and you know you're not going to be the only one trying to harvest this. So yeah, you have to be quick. Did you get there late? Everything is gone and you'd have to wait for the next season. If you stayed this far, you already know what the eating culture of the Inuit people is like. No waste is allowed. They make sure they get value out of everything they find, and that includes animal hooves. To every other person, hooves are rubbery, tough, straight up something you'd do away with, but the Inuit people figured they could make this into some kind of rich and warming meal. Now we're back to the animal world. Enough seaweed and berries. Let's talk about animal hooves, one of the most surprising meals on the list. These people's main source of hooves are caribou and muskox. After successfully capturing one of these animals, they carefully remove the hooves and the lower legs. Next, they thoroughly clean them up and set them aside for the stew pot. And of course, as this is going on, other parts of the animal, especially the meatier part, get boiled, roasted, dried up, or even consumed raw. But back to the hooves, they boil it for hours, alongside some animal skin and scraps. This is done to deeply soften it, and the result? A very thick soup that is nutrients endowed. Nutrients like protein, calcium, and collagen help them survive the harsh weather conditions. They eat these with their hands or just slurp it from a bowl. It may not look or taste great, but hey, it helped them stay warm. Also, it was perfect for elders or kids who needed food that could digest really easily and gave them energy. And if you think turning animal hooves into food is absurd, wait till you hear the next item on the list. It's also in liquid form, but you won't believe the main ingredient. Seal blood. Yeah, you heard that right, blood. You see, survival in the Arctic is not child's play. As I said earlier in this video, to the Inuit people, the seal is a whole survival kit. From some parts of the intestine and organs, they make windows. From the skin, they make waterproof garments, boots, and pouches. From the teeth and claws, they make tools and weapons. From the blubbers, they make oil that is used to create fire. From the flesh, they get meat. And from the blood? Well, wait till you find out what they turn it into. After a seal is caught, the blood is very carefully collected in clean bone or stone containers. Now, this is the thing. Considering how cold the place is, the blood has to be used quickly. 1 minute, you have fresh flowing blood. The next, it's all frozen up. So preparing seal blood often happens right there at the hunting site, but of course it is sometimes brought back to camp for preparation. Now, for how this weird meal is prepared, it's pretty straightforward in fact. The fresh blood is heated up with pieces of meat, blubber, liver, and even intestines sometimes. If available, seaweeds and berries are added to spice things up. But the main ingredient? The seal blood. Sometimes nothing is added to it. It just gets heated up and served. Now, this isn't something they eat for lunch. It's more like Arctic medicine. Rich in protein, iron, nutrients like vitamin A and D. It helps in preventing fatigue. And the truth is, considering what the Inuit hunters are exposed to during hunts, a hot soup that can instantly revitalize them is a huge plus. Hunters returning home after long hours of work would pick this over frozen fish. But this isn't made for hunters alone. Kids and elders are fed this, but probably in smaller portions as it strengthens them. And one thing with delicacy is that it tastes like nothing you can imagine. Yeah, you know the ingredients and all, but you'd have to actually taste it to have the slightest idea of what it feels and tastes like. And we'll end the video with the most daring meal you can ever go after as an Inuit hunter. Polar bears. This animal is legit the king of the Arctic. Every living creature in the Arctic fears it. But when you're an Inuit hunter looking for ways to give you and your family an edge over the crazy climate conditions, you'd consider taking down apex predators like polar bears. Just like seals, polar bears aren't only hunted for food, but also for how helpful other parts of this animal can be for survival. I'm sure you can already imagine how difficult it must be to hunt polar bears. Courage, experience, skill. The hunters, in groups, track them along sea ice or breathing holes and use weapons like harpoons and now rifles to take them down. After the capture is complete, the animal is taken back to camp, where the butchers get down to business. The meat is boiled, roasted, or sometimes left to ferment for flavor and preservation. This meat is a high-energy food that comes in clutch in the deep cold. The blubber, just like seals, are used for oil while the hides are turned into clothing. But to be honest, when it comes to polar bears, it's not about butchering or cooking it. The real fun happens during the hunt. So don't stop here. Click the video on your screen to watch how the Inuit track and hunt polar bears at -95 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a whole new level of survival, and don't forget to subscribe to join our small Inuit family. Until next time, stay curious and stay warm.